This is The Caretaker, and you are listening to The Graveyard Show.
Welcome to the Graveyard.
And welcome to another edition of the Graveyard Show podcast. I am your caretaker, and the graveyard is open. Well, what do you get when you mix Demi Moore, the star of such films as G.I. Jane and Decent Proposal, Ghost, one of the great tearjerkers of all time, member of the Brat Pack back in the good old days. When you mix her with Coralie Fargeat, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, the director of Revenge, and you mix in a little bit of Dennis Quaid and Margaret Qualley, well, you get the substance, and man, oh man. I'm going to talk about it, but don't worry, friends, spoiler-free. I do not want your experience to be ruined at all. So I'm going to talk about that film in just a minute, but first I'm going to get into some quick news and notes. Terrifier 3 is coming home. Art the Clown is coming home. It's going to be available on VOD roughly around the time of November 26th. November 26th looks like it's going to be available on VOD, and it looks like it's going to start off anywhere between $19.99 and $24.99 to rent, at least to start. Now, if you're interested in purchasing the film on physical media, well, that's going to be roughly around December 17th, so right in time for Christmas. Gee, I wonder why. Yes, Terrifier 3 is going to be available on DVD for $29.99, it looks like. The collector's edition Blu-ray will be about $38.99. There's going to be a collector's edition 4K ultra high def plus Blu-ray, which is going to be looks like $46.98. And then the collector's edition 4K ultra high def and Blu-ray steelbook looks like it's going to be starting price of $49.98. Bonus features are going to be including a making of featurette, a creepy twist on the traditional Yule log with the eulogy log featuring David Howard Thornton as Art the Clown, and more to come. So stay tuned. Terrifier 3, we haven't heard the last of Art the Clown, and boy, am I happy about that. Things Will Be Different is now available on Blu-ray and digital. Dread Central gives the film 4 stars, as well as Bloody Disgusting, and the Hollywood News all give it 4 stars. Lightbulb Film Distribution is thrilled to share the news that their dark and twisted science fiction horror film, Things Will Be Different, is out now on digital and Blu-ray. From the minds that brought you Marvel's Loki, Something in the Dirt, and The Endless, and the distributor who released hundreds of Beavers into the UK, comes a bold new time travel thriller starring Adam David Thompson and Riley Dandy. After evading police following a robbery, 2 estranged siblings lay low at an abandoned farmhouse, but when a mysterious force emerges, it makes the pair question everything about themselves and each other. Following its successful UK theatrical release, where Macabre Daily said Things Will Be Different is the lo-fi, high-concept time travel movie you should see now, Things Will Be Different is now available on Blu-ray and digital download. You can find the trailer for Things Will Be Different on the Graveyard Show Podcast YouTube channel, as well as all the other video sites the Graveyard Show Podcast currently resides. Encyclopocalypse Productions just sent out a press release regarding the novelization of the classic 1980s film Chopping Mall. They are in the process, or have been in the process, of changing authors for this novelization, thus affecting the release date. So, according to their press release dated November 12th, they said that Chopping Mall, the novelization, is going to be released on or about, looks like, December 19th. Without getting into details, they said that they will no longer be working with the previous author of this novelization in any capacity, and that's basically where they're leaving it. So if you're looking at getting it, or if you've been waiting to get it, Chopping Mall, the novelization, has been delayed until December 19th. Stay tuned for more. Director Steven Soderbergh's new film is going to be coming out next year, January 24th, to be exact. It's called Presence. And it is directed, as I mentioned, by Steven Soderbergh, written by David Koepp. And it stars Lucy Liu, Chris Sullivan, Kalina Liang, Eddie Madej, West Mulholland, Julia Fox. And the story is about a family that moves into a suburban house. They become convinced that they're not alone. There you have it. So Presence coming out January 24th of 2025. And if you'd like to check out the trailer, you can do so on the Graveyard Show podcast's video channels. Now let's talk about The Substance. And as I mentioned, this is going to be a spoiler-free discussion because I really don't want any of you to have your experience tainted in any way, shape, or form. Now, here's what I can tell you. First of all, whoever came up with the idea of promoting this film and putting the trailer together, I cannot thank them enough, because they did just enough to get us interested in this movie and giving us a very brief and very quick overview as to what the movie could be about. Because I can tell you right now, if you know anyone that's seen this movie, I think they're going to say this movie is batshit crazy, that it's insane, and that's all in a good way. This movie is sort of a throwback, I would say. If you're a fan of horror like all of us are, there are going to be certain things you're going to pick up on. Certain maybe shots you're going to look at, or maybe certain things you're going to see and go, hey, that kind of reminds me of this movie. Hey, that kind of reminds me of that movie. And not in a bad way. It's not in a rip-off kind of way. I feel like it's homages to other filmmakers and other films, but this movie is its own movie. Welcome to your next modern day classic horror film, folks, because that's what this is. And I can tell you right now, if you've seen the trailer, you ain't seen nothing yet. I knew someone who saw this. They saw it about a week ago, and they were like, they saw it at home, and they were like, it's insane. And I said, don't tell me anything more. I don't want to know any more, because I'm going to go see it. And he was like, yeah, I'm not going to tell you. So it's barely been 12 hours since I've seen the movie, and it has affected me in all the right ways. Look, we're very fortunate right now. We're in a great time period, especially this year. Again, when you look at some of the horror movies that have been released just this year, between this, Terrifier 3, Smile 2, Long Legs, just to name a few. It's really, again, I mentioned this on my previous podcast. We're kind of in this new age of horror greatness. I really feel that way. I was fortunate to grow up in a time where, the late 70s and the 80s were just, you would find stuff all the time everywhere, and stuff we still talk about to this day. The Substance is going to be a movie that's going to be with us forever. It really is. And from what I understand, it's already hit social media pretty hard, even with this last Halloween, where people were dressing up as characters from the movie, moments from the movie. And, this isn't a movie that's made $100 million. So you can just imagine, as word of mouth keeps growing, this movie is going to do incredibly well at home. I was fortunate. My wife and I saw it in the theaters, or in the theater, I should say. And if you can see it in the theater, I highly recommend it. First of all, the sound design in this movie is fantastic and incredibly effective, whether it's the sound design or the soundtrack itself. It is just bonkers crazy good. It's so well done, so effective. And what what I'm going to say is that it affects you. You know, the best kind of horror is a horror movie that has a story, right? Yeah, we love like kind of mindless zombie movies or mindless vampire movies or mindless monster movies or mindless plague movie, whatever. We love our mindless horror movies. That's fine. You know, you just turn it on, you fire it up, you go, and you just kind of have a great time. The good ones, the great ones, have amazing stories. And I'm not going to use the term elevated horror because it's not a real term, and I hate that term. A really good or a really great horror movie is something that has something to say as well. It's been like that through the course of time. Dracula, Frankenstein, right? George Romero made his entire career of zombie movies based on having something to say. Each zombie movie had something to say. We're seeing that now with a movie like this, and this has something to say. It talks about beauty. It talks about women in society. It talks about men in society. It talks about, sexuality in society. It talks about, being discarded as you age. And what would you do to get that back? What if you were someone who, is this celebrity who is so desperately trying to do something to keep her career going? Would you take this substance? Would you do it? What, as always, my favorite part about all this is, what is the payback for this? What are the consequences? And let me tell you something. The consequences are incredibly crazy in this movie. And like any great movie, it doesn't just blow up in your face immediately. The editing of this film is relentless. The directing, Corley is such a good director. I saw Revenge on Shudder when it first landed, and I love that movie. So much so, I've always wanted to go back and watch it, but I keep getting sidetracked with other movies that I need to see, and then I always kind of forget to go back to it. But if you have not seen Revenge and you have Shudder, find it. I think Revenge may even be available on all video platforms now. If you have not seen it, I highly recommend it. Check it out. It's really, really good. But her directing and the editing and everything that came into it, the set dressing, obviously the acting, you have great actors from top to bottom in this film. And it just really just starts off slow, and it just moves, and it goes, and it goes, and it goes. And man, when this movie takes off and fires off into outer space, man, you're going. And when it ends, you're kind of like, how did we go from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie? How do we get to this point? I highly recommend it. Check it out. And again, if you can see it in the movie theaters, or if it's ever re-released, because I don't know if it's really playing anywhere right now, but if you see it out in the theaters, please do not miss it. You really do need to see it when it's in the movies. But look, if you want to catch it now and you can find it on VOD, definitely do it. Check it out. Hopefully you have a large enough screen and a good sound system to really kind of get the impact that this movie has. Now, speaking of impacts, we're coming to the end of the year, and when we start getting into the November, December time of year, we start looking at award season. January, February, March, Golden Globes, Oscars, I believe, are the first week in March next year. And you start looking at a lot of the contenders, and you start looking at what might get nominated, who might get nominated, what films, what actors, actresses, writers, directors, crew members, that kind of stuff. And it always beckons at some point which dark horse films are going to be in the mix. Well, as I mentioned before, this film, The Substance, has really been catching on social media, and it's starting to become part of the culture, right? People are dressing up like characters from the film. They're starting to make references from the movie. Look, I can very easily see in 10, 20 years, like we see now, fan posters of the movie. You're going to be seeing shirts, all kinds of stuff, character figurines, whatever, all kinds of stuff for this film, The Substance. I think it's going to have that kind of impact long term. I'm curious where this movie's going to sit when it comes to award season. Here you have this great movie written by a woman, directed by a woman, about women. It tells a very definitive story. It has a very definitive statement. It has a lot to say. So is that going to get people to vote for it? Is this a movie that Academy voters are going to want to watch? As we've seen in the past, there's a tendency for the Academy to have maybe a group of 5 or 6 movies that kind of get nominated in most of the categories. And then you kind of have those outlier films that get, maybe editing or sound design or something like that. Does the substance break all of the rules and get its way in when it comes time to the Academy Awards? I think it should. I think it's that kind of quality of film. Again, it may not be your type of movie, you being an Academy voter, whoever the hypothetical Academy voter is out there. But the Academy voters should see this movie. They need to see this movie. It deserves to be seen. When I think about all of the possibilities that this movie could get nominated for, I was thinking right off the top of my head 5. But I mean, I could almost go up to 10. I mean, right off the bat, let's say picture, director, Demi Moore for actress, Margaret Qualley for supporting actress, maybe Dennis Quaid for best supporting actor. I don't know if he's in the movie enough, but man, when he's in that movie, he just chews the scenery. Cinematography, so that's 5 right there. Sets, special effects, sound design, editing, that's 9, just without even trying. I could also say maybe even for a score, 10, just off the top of my head. If there was a category for stunts, man, the stunts in this movie are amazing. There's a stunt that happens so early in this movie, you forget about it by the time the movie is done. That's how crazy this movie gets. And the stunt is incredible. The way it's shot, all of it, it's just so good. But again, you kind of forget about it. I've forgotten about it until a little while ago. I was like, oh my gosh, that's right. This scene happened. And yeah, it's just so overshadowed by the rest of the movie. So I mean, where is the substance going to lie in 3 months? Are we going to be talking about it being totally screwed over like we did a couple years ago with Mia Goth when she wasn't nominated for Pearl? I mean, she wasn't nominated for really outside of a horror a nomination, within the horror community. But I mean, the substance could easily have 9 or 10 Academy Award nominations. So let's see where the Academy sits on this. I challenge any Academy voters out there right now. If this is not a movie for you, you need to still see it. Do not deny this movie any of the award glory that it should be a part of when it comes time to talk about best movies. This is one of the best movies. This actually, for me, this is what kind of crazy 24-hour period I had. I saw this last night, and the night before I saw Juror Number 2. I mean, talk about 2 totally different movies. 2 great movies. Juror Number 2 is a great movie, directed by Clint Eastwood. If you love good dramas, it's great. It is so well done. And again, you can there's like 5 nominations I could see coming out of that movie. Juror Number 2 was my favorite movie of the year when I saw it until last night. I think The Substance might be my favorite movie. And I'm not saying that just because I'm a fan of horror. I really believe that The Substance may be the best movie of the year. When I look at other horror movies that came out this year, I mean, let's just be honest. There are other horror movies that could get nominated for awards as well. I mean, I could sit here and say, well, let's take a look. Here we go. Longlegs. Yeah. Longlegs, if you want to find my spoiler-free review on Longlegs, go back a couple of podcasts ago. Longlegs could easily be nominated for a couple of awards as well. I don't think that it's a movie that should be discarded when talking about awards. I don't think it should be forgotten about. I mean, you talk about maybe Micah Monroe. Could she get nominated for actress? Maybe. What about Blair Underwood? Could he be nominated in a supporting role? What about Nicolas Cage? Nicolas Cage, man, he was perfect for this film. What about for cinematography? I can't imagine that it wouldn't be, but again, will it be? It could be nominated for sets. It could be nominated for picture. It could be nominated for director. I mean, will Osgood Perkins get nominated? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But, again, Longlegs could easily be talked about for award season. What about the movie that has yet to come out that's getting a lot of buzz, Nosferatu? Robert Eggers' new film. I mean, that thing could clean up. These are 3 horror movies that you could legitimately speak about being a part of an Academy Award discussion for picture, for, as I said, director. You hear a lot of complaints about Academy Award nominations. Well, I mean, you have the ability now, especially with The Substance, to change a lot of that. This is a high-quality movie made by a great filmmaker, great actors and actresses, and great crew. So I'm throwing in The Substance early on to be voted on for a lot of Academy Award categories this year. And again, Academy voters out there, do not do a disservice for this movie. Make it a part of the discussion because it deserves to be there. It is that good of a movie. And if you've seen the film and you want to comment on it, please do so. You can leave comments below, or you can email me at gyspodcast@gmail.com. And yeah, I mean, I'd love to know your thoughts. If you're going to leave comments about the movie, just try not to ruin it for anybody by giving away anything. Let's give it some time. Let's let people find this movie, because I really don't want anybody to have their experience ruined. Because, like I said, my wife and I had only seen the trailer, and we went into it, and man, I'll say this: David Cronenberg has got to be smiling somewhere, going, "Yeah." I mean, this rivals anything that he has done, and I'll leave it at that. All right, that's going to do it for me, my friends. Let me know your thoughts, as I said, and we will reconvene very, very soon. And as you exit the graveyard, I would like to remind you to please lock the gate behind you. We wouldn't want anyone to get out. Until next time.